women is more than one.
Well, I'm pronouncing it, I guess, differently than you said, but I'm saying women.
She's saying the plural.
Yeah, like women in general.
I can't hear the difference with a lot of these like younger girls. They say the word the same, so I wasn't sure. So we know men have duties.
Yes.
To provide and protect. If men aren't out keeping the electrical grid up, there's going to be problems, right?
I mean, I know it's more of a man's job, but like women can do that job too.
No, they can't.
Like, yes, they can.
You don't see any women doing it.
Do you know?
But they can. Like,
do you know what it entails to create, make, and lay concrete? It is impossible. They can't do it.
Okay, but there are men who also can't do. There are disabled men. There are really skinny,
but the only people who can do it are men.
But the thing is, there are plenty of men who aren't doing that. So you could say it's a man's duty, but you can't generalize and say it's all men's duty. Just like you can't generalize and say all women's duty is to have children.
It's the duty of men to provide, protect, and build the nation. And they're the only ones who can do it.
And lots of them physically can't.
There are some. But that doesn't mean that we can't generalize.
I see a lot of men who I don't think would last very long.
I don't see any women that would be able to do it. So
okay,
I can agree with that.
But it doesn't. We can talk about generalizations and outliers. But I'm asking: do women have any duties to society, or is it just she needs to do what makes her happy? She needs to focus on her happiness.
Women produce the next generation.
Yeah, that they should, but they're not. Have you guys taken a look at the birth rates?
Because if
you
can't say that, because if you say that,
well, the Mexicans
the birth rates are lower.
Even Mexicans are below replacement now.
But like the birth rates are lower, but that's
They've
not
assimilated.
saying that they're not. I agree that there is a decline in terms of the value of motherhood, and I personally think that should be something that is valued again. It's a very important role, and there should be no shame in wanting to be a mother. And I think a lot of, as a young woman, you get this, you're kind of torn where you're definitely led on a path of education, and that's important. I mean, education is great, and we are a more privileged generation, so our parents in general had enough money to like at least want us to get an education. We got an education, we get a good job, and then you get later, and then now you're in the career world, and you, well, let me finish what I'm saying, Rach, let me finish. So then you have a job, you get your job, and then all of a sudden you're 29, you are 30, 31, 32. Now you have like a short time span to get into this relationship, to get married. The guy feels pressure. If you've been on birth control, that's going to make it hard to actually conceive, because that impacts your fertility. You have to wait for that stuff to wear off. So there are these problems. So I think that the age of responsibility of motherhood has been pushed out, but the problem is that because of like the biological restrictions and limitations on a woman's body, we feel that pressure, and so it's this catch-22, and you want to, and so
I don't think it is a catch-22 though.
Well, but it's either you pursue education and get a career and all that stuff, or you be a mom, and that's a hard. It's hard. It's
actually
decision.
not hard at all, and here's why. Because why are we telling young women to take your most fertile years when you should be having babies and spend that entire decade of your 20s chasing an education which the average woman goes $40,000 into debt to get, and she makes an average of $40,000 a year, which is a terrible deal, right? So we tell them to go to all this college, get into debt to get your degree, and then do the career thing like you just said. And then all of a sudden at 30, flip a switch and try to get at least 2.1 babies out of them. That's stupid, and it's never going to happen. So why do we give young women that advice? I mean, and I think 95% of y'all don't have any business being in a university at all.
I mean, it would be great if you could pause, take advantage of your fertile years, right? And then you go into school. But like you don't need to go to school.
What do women need to go to school for? Have you ever taken a look at what they major in?
Who's gonna spread?
Sociology. Right?
Political science. Okay. Who's gonna do this anti-feminist movement if there aren't learned women in the world?
I will say this. I didn't go to college. I never went to college. I had my first baby at 20, the way the Lord intended, and
that's beautiful. And you're obviously very intelligent and can speak for yourself, and that's awesome.
I don't need a bullshit university degree and a bunch of debt.
But I will say a realistic, just a reality is. It's so expensive now. I mean, live in any city. If you want to be a homeowner,
why do you think college is so expensive?
And no, I'm not saying college. I'm saying after college. I'm saying you need a job. You need cost of living. And so
also,
and if you're,
do you know why that's that
because
way?
more people entered the workforce, and so
which people?
Women entered the workforce.
Women entered the workforce in mass in the 1970s.
Just one sec, guys.
God for feminism. I wouldn't be able to have a triple-digit body count and no kids. Population
triple-digit?
Question for the panel. Would you date a guy with 100-plus body count?
Show of hands if you would.
No, his ability to bond has been destroyed.
Yeah. Okay, she would. Nobody else. Oh, you would date a guy 100+ body
She's
count?
dating a guy with 100+ body count.
Can I ask?
Okay, continue on with your point.
So your husband's name is Andrew. Mm-hmm. So does he not want your daughters to go to college? He doesn't want them to go to college.
They haven't so far. They haven't. They've done. They've been homeschooled, and then they were able to do a little bit of trade school. Like one of them does dental assisting, the other one does culinary arts. Mm-hmm. Free education, no debt, something so they have a little job they can do until they get married, because the world is the way it is. I'm not saying I don't understand the situation we're in, but I think it's a horrible idea. 95% of women, they go to college, they get bullshit degrees and shit.
I'm just
like
going to say
interior
this.
design,
95% of all people do not belong in college because they are mentally, well, I can't say the word, but they're not well. So the issue I think that she was bringing up when she was asking you about the rights is people don't understand that the minute there's a right, there's also a corresponding duty on somebody to enforce and allow that right. Mm-hmm. And so actually I think most rights are total BS, male and female, right? Mm-hmm. And I think you might have the idea that I'm in a prescription that somehow women should go back to being a second tier citizen or something, which I don't know that we were. I wasn't around in that time to say that we were. I don't necessarily agree that women shouldn't be educated, because if women are going to raise children, they should be intelligent enough to know how to raise those children and shouldn't raise morons. But I do think that there is a push on all fronts for everybody to go to college as if they need it. And this is just a Ponzi scheme. Yeah. I think get
intelligence and education are completely separate from college and university. For sure. Yeah.
You were raising your hand. Did you have something you wanted to add?
Someone kind of already said it.
What was it?
I was just going to mention, they were talking about how people aren't having kids or aren't raising families, and someone already mentioned the cost of living, and I was going to say that's a big
here's the other part. Hold on. Here's the other part. Okay, men do not want to assume duty because they are getting free sex. Right. They do not want that.
But men don't even want this.
That's what I'm saying.
Men don't even want it. They don't. And do you know
they don't want what? They don't want what? Free sex?
Yeah, men don't want free sex. They want a high value woman.
They do think they want it though.
But that's because women are making it so easy.
They want it short term.
Women are making it so easy. Women
I think it's both.
Bikini pictures on Instagram.
I think it's both, man. I think it's both. I think men have this idea that they have to rack up. I mean, look at this. Men, they're freely telling you I have triple-digit body counts, like he's bragging, instead of looking at the fact that he's lost all his morality and has subjected women to nothing as an object.
His morality.
100% it does, because you're just using another human being for your own sexual satisfaction.
Sexual satisfaction is much different for men and women. For women, sexual
Please tell us, Dr. Ruth, what is the difference?
Having sexual relations as women, having sexual relationships as women is emotional. Sorry.
Go ahead.
No, but seriously, having sex as a woman is much different than having sex as a man. For men, it's not emotional. It's purely their evolutionary descent. It's instinct. It's built into their brains.
Well, there's a lot of men it's emotional
But I think it takes a certain moral, to be a man and to choose not to, that's your carnal instinct. That's your most basic instinct. Right, yep. So to be able to have the self-will. But for the men.
Don't you think there's probably a reason?
No, for the men probably a reason that we want to kill people when they piss us off.
Yeah, I don't think that's normal. Maybe she was right.
Hold on.
You're talking about the same thing.
Go ahead.
It's your most basic carnal, physical, what's that brain called? Your reptilian brain, right? I'm just going to act on my instinct. I'm going to do what I desire. And there's no higher calling, there's no self-control, there's no any of these values.
It's for reproduction.
But that's still, but that doesn't change the point. It's still your most basic instinct. It takes a lot, it's a lot harder to actually control yourself.
But who cares about that? Isn't there a reason why they have those instincts?
Well, let's just put it this way. The societies where the men just follow their impulse to breed indiscriminately do not produce the best offspring.
How do you know that?
Because you can just study it.
Who has
you
the
can
most
just study
children?
it.
It's the high-value men.
No.
People like Elon Musk.
Okay, listen, I know you have to justify why your boyfriend's cheating on you, but
Okay.
it's not.
My boyfriend is not cheating on me.
I
It's an
know
open
we can
relationship.
call it whatever we want. We can label things different ways. That man will always be a
audio
man,
next?
even if he cuts off his penis. I don't care what the labels are. The
Yes.
truth of the fact is what it is. Now, the fact of the matter is, if we follow these base instincts to just reproduce indiscriminately, it actually does not produce for the best societies and the best raised children. That's why you don't
get a
follow it
third world
indiscriminately.
country with
You get a third world country. There's a reason that Western Europeans, which have the highest correlation for morality, also produce the most civilized
Can
societies.
you explain what highest correlation for morality means?
Sure. If you want to take a look at who actually has moral prescriptions, like you don't cheat on people, you don't steal, you don't kill, these sorts of things, it is the highest in Western
Yeah, but
European
who says those are
civilizations.
the correct morals?
Okay, so you're going to go into moral
Are you a
relativism,
are you a relativist?
right?
Okay.
In which you can decide, how about this? If somebody just brutally kills somebody you love, are you going to say, oh, that was part of their culture and that's okay?
No.
No.
I
All
would
right.
not
So that
say
lets you know. So there is an internal instinct about what is moral and what isn't. We can get into the communist, moralist, relativistic position that says, oh, every culture has different morals, but then when you actually apply it practically, we all agree that children shouldn't be made to be child brides or get married or have sex, right? So we do have an agreement on morals.
Well, where do you find, like, how do you find out about that moral system? Because clearly people aren't following
That's
that
a very
moral
deep
system.
and theological question as well.
Yeah.
But there's been a lot of writing on how you find out about the moral thing. I think some of the things that we can start with is a lot of people do actually have a natural reaction to immoral behavior.
Yeah.
And that's one of the key indications that actually morality is innate as opposed to taught.
Right, but I mean, people still go against it, and people still.
Yes, they do.
Yeah.
I've gone against it.
Yes,
Yeah.
but people justify it as well. So how
Right.
can we live in
So-
a society that doesn't justify immoral behavior?
Well, you have to have moral
Alchemist
leadership.
_XP donated $200.
Hey, thank you, Alchemist.
Why can't women comprehend men created the civilized world, electricity, paved roads, governance, plumbing, healthcare, and women think they are equal since they feel entitled?